Chiang Kai-shek, Jiang Zhishi, Mao Zedong. He was very young. Whether we like it or not, your future, my future, is increasingly tied to China. From our smartphones to supply chains, from Asia, Europe, Africa to America. China is no longer rising. China is reshaping our world. And to understand where China is heading, we first need to understand where China came from. This is a brief story of modern China, its fall, its revolutions, and its rise. All started in the 19th century, around the two Opium Wars, what Chinese call 百年国耻, which is the Century of Humiliation. And it started in 1839-40, the first Opium War, 鸦片战争.鸦片 is opium, and 战争 is war. So in 1839-40, Britain invaded China, launched a war against China, defeated China, forced China to sign an unjust treaty, which is the Treaty of Nanjing, and so that Britain can seize Xianggang, Hong Kong, only to give it back 99 years later in 1997. Also forced China to open its market so that Britain can sell its opium. And a few years later, 20 years later, in 1860, the second Opium War started, and more territory were taken from China, and more humiliation. And again, didn't stop there. In 1894 to 1895, the first Sino-Japanese War broke out. So the newly modernized Japan invaded China, defeated China, humiliated China, and taken Taiwan. They took Taiwan from China. That was in 1894-95. And 2-3 years later, in 1899, a revolution broke out. The Boxers movement, Xinhai Revolution, they stood up and fighting Western imperialism. But they were harshly crushed. And 8 foreign powers made an alliance and invaded China. There are Britain, France, the US, Russia, Japan, Italy, Germany, and Austria-Hungary, known in China as Baguo Lianjun. They invaded China and imposed on the Qing dynasty, reparations to pay them millions, and also to reform its system, to westernize it, to make it look like the Western style system, which is the obsession of the Western world. They want everybody to look like them. And also, they abolished the Chinese imperial exam, civil servant exam, which is the 科举考试. And they created a contingent called the Beiyang Army, Beiyang and the man leading that was General Yuan Shikai. And that was the end of the century. And the Boxer Revolution, 义和团运动, didn't succeed. Chinese were humiliated, but it opened the door to other revolution. And 5 years later, in 1905, a young doctor by the name of Sun Yat-sen, his Chinese name is Sun Zhongshan, started an alliance which is called the Tongmenghui. He was in exile in Japan. He started the Tongmenghui. And 3 years later, the Chinese empress passed away. And again, 3 years later, a new revolution started, Xinhai Revolution, which is the Xinhai Revolution. And Dr. Sun Yat-sen and his men succeeded with the help of defected Beijing army who joined their ranks. And they overthrew the Qing dynasty. He was the first one to create the Republic of China. But he had to step aside and let Yuan Shikai to lead. And Yuan Shikai turned out to be not that good. And again, Dr. Sun Yat-sen was forced to leave, to flee and go to exile. And Yuan Shikai passed away a few years later, and China descended into wars. Sun Yat-sen came back, his first lieutenant, Chiang Kai-shek, Jiang Zhishi. And on the other side, we have young intellectuals who are learning from the Soviet Revolution, 1917. Among them is Chen Duxiu and also Mao Zedong. He was very young at that time. So these people started learning Marxism and embracing it. And in 1919, this is the turning point. In 1919, at the Versailles Treaty in France, the Allies, instead of giving back Shandong, which is a territory of China, to China because it was seized by Germany, they gave it to Japan, and that sparked a lot of anger. For your information, Shandong is the hometown of the great Chinese thinker Kongzi, Confucius. So this sparked like a lot of anger and started the May 4th revolution. Here we have two movements: the nationalists, who are led by Sun Yat-sen and Chiang Kai-shek. On the other side, we have the communists. And in 1921, the Communist Party had their first meeting in Shanghai, Congress in Shanghai. There were only 13 of them at that time. And yeah, I will leave it here. I think it's long enough. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe and share it and leave a comment if you want. Thank you.